आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Let your mind soak in the peace. When a sincere jigyasu, seeker of knowledge, approaches a teacher who not only is established in that truth or knowledge, but also has the language, the means to communicate that knowledge. When you study this Upanishad, you will come to realize that no language can confine the infinite or even communicate to us what really infinite is. Yet, our great rishis were able to communicate what cannot be communicated by words. And therefore, since there is only words to communicate the knowledge, the words are combined in such a way that it is not that we get an explanation of just the meaning of the word, but we get the understanding. We get the knowledge. Therefore, it is contemplative knowledge. It is not just mere rational thinking, though rational thinking is essential in gaining knowledge. Logical, tarka is required, not illogical. But this mystical knowledge, a certain mental atmosphere, mental ability, mindset is required. And there is a certain methodology by which this understanding or this knowledge can take place in us. So the teacher must be both Brahmanishta, well established in the truth, and Shrotriya, one who is well versed with the methodology of the scriptures. Both essential. The more you will think over it, the more you will understand. A mere book scholar who knows the language or the etymology or knows how to by heart or can quote left and right cannot be inspiring. And one who knows but does not know the language to communicate also is not able to teach. Therefore, a guru must have both these qualities. And such a guru we must approach. Now, there might be a very eloquent, very inspiring, and that you find plenty. But we will not know whether they are bluffing, and bluff is more popular, as you know. Gossip is more popular. Rumor spreads faster. Yeah? And a fictitious news or an imagination takes flight very easily. Therefore, does it have the authority of precedence? It's a well-tested path. No? What is the test, even of a medicine, that for years it has helped? Not one set of people, but a lot of people in diverse situations, conditions, weather, races, etc. So that knowledge which has come down to us through the test of time. Yet, to understand its nuances, to understand its fine meaning, so many interpretations can be there. But one who knows the truth is able to explain in so many different ways for us to understand with conviction and in an inspiring manner. Therefore, both this is required. And the scriptures only say that not by merely reading us, not by merely chanting, those are all essentials to retain the knowledge. None of them is useless. But by merely doing that, one cannot realize the truth. That to gain this knowledge, one must approach such a teacher. And approach such a teacher with what? First of all, with humility. And the second is with a readiness to serve. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena, then, and sevaya. So, there in the poetry, it has gone in the other order. But then Krishna is actually unique. He means that even after you get this knowledge, when it is said that there is no action left for such a person to do, still serve. So it is not accidentally or just poetically that it is there. But for a sadhaka, pranipatena, sevaya and pariprashnena. So, through humility, prostration, it's not just, again, if physically we keep on doing, we do not know whether we are bowing or pulling someone's leg. And nowadays we don't even bow a head, It is an attitude of humility and surrender, which is demonstrated in the physical action of bowing. So approaching the teacher with an attitude of humility, which should be continuously there, not once a day, just bowing or once a while bowing. That's a physical act to remind ourselves. Then seva. Seva means whatever is required in the work of the Guru. Whether the ashram in olden times going and asking for bhiksha and bringing bhiksha. These days the Guru brings the bhiksha as the students demand. What? Dal chawal every day? Paneer also should be there. And what, once a week paneer, no? So readiness to serve, so much so to pick up just dry, those days, for yajna twigs. Nowadays, don't go and bring twigs. Yeah, Guru, my offering. Yeah. Nowadays, you bring big envelopes for the Guru's work. Yeah. Not fruits alone. Why I'm saying is that what are we ready to serve with? What we have and what is required. Now these are also service required for the work. Guru doesn't require any personal service. If we get a chance, of course, no, it's a great privilege. But following the instructions of the Guru, knowing what is the work required around, not adding to the work of the Guru at least, is a big seva. Sometimes Gurudev used to say, stay away from the Guru. That is the greatest seva you can do. Yeah? All these might be very small instructions which are given practically in all the scriptures. But they are essential that what is the mental attitude with which this knowledge can take place. And whoever we serve, we begin to love and we get to attune with that person. Even we come to know the greatness of that person. We begin to understand that person. That's why seva, it is not like a favor done on the Guru. And when we serve also, we will have our own inefficiency, defects, and in seva, we get an opportunity to reveal ourselves openly. And that is what we must be in front of our Guru. Not for the Guru to judge us, not for the Guru to think, this is your fault. No. But to know from where you are coming, what you will be able to understand, not understand, or why you are not able to understand, what you're still holding back. No? What fine-tuning of your mind is required. All this becomes essential. Otherwise, we're constantly hiding our inefficiencies, our laziness, our imperfections. So through seva, whether you get anxious, whether you have certain limitations, all get revealed. Not for the Guru to judge you or to condemn you, but to understand the nature of your mind, so that when he or she communicates to you, that by which you are able to gain, assimilate this knowledge. That's why our Gurukula system, and Gurudev made these camps like small mini Gurukulas, whether it was for 1 week or 2 weeks. For us, those who are in Sandipani, we have the privilege of being here for 2 years. No? To be sculptured. And when you are sculptured, if you don't surrender, The beauty that lies within you, the beauty that the scriptures and the Guru is trying to bring out of you, however painful it may be, however exposed you are, that exposure doesn't make you vulnerable, but reveals that where you need to be chipped, where you need to be polished, so that that beauty comes out of you. For this, these three are required. A sense of surrender and humility, readiness to serve, and then we have the privilege of asking the question. Therefore, these Upanishads are like a question-answer session. Now, when we ask the question, the line of inquiry the teacher has to take through will be according to the question. Like in some Upanishads, the inquiry is about from where did this universe come? Is it mere evolution? Was there as a gigantic mark? In material sciences also, this inquiry is there, that what is the cause of this universe? With a mind that is more inclined towards chemistry or physics or even biology. Biology is not asking for any chemical, that what brought life into this world. So according to the question we ask, the teacher gives an answer. Because sometimes the teacher gives the answer, you say, what is he talking about? You're not interested in cosmology and where did the creation come from. I just wanted to know that what food I should eat for my digestion. Yeah? And especially when foreigners try to translate our scriptures, they thought it was just some blabbering because they didn't understand the question itself. And now this Upanishad starts with a question, while Ishavasya Upanishad, etc. starts with inquiring into this Jagat and what is the cause of this Jagat. This world and the cause of this world. Here the student has been observing himself and the functioning of his equipments. And from there, he's beginning to inquire, in short, who am I? The student has been observing himself, and through his observation and whatever he has understood, he seems to infer that these equipments of mine are not independent in their functioning. So is there or is there not some other presence, factor that makes these senses function? When somebody dies also, we are too busy crying and thinking, how much insurance is person left for me and, what will happen to me. Yeah. But rarely do we observe that pulsating person whom I have called as my child or as my parent, whose body is lying there, whose eyes may be open or mouth may be open, whose eyes also we may take and transplant into someone else's body. So are these eyes the seer, or there is some other factor that gives these eyes the ability to see? From this, the question becomes clear that the student is not interested in, how am I going to make more money or will I get a good job? Is not talking about any. Therefore, in some Upanishads, what is the requirement of the student of Vivek Vairagya is distinctly mentioned. Here, from the question itself, we can understand what caliber of student has come to which caliber of teacher. For the student is not asking for any, he's not saying that, I've got so many problems. Why are the problems in life? Why does God make good people suffer? Or, why do I have to suffer? I've done always good in my life, but so many suffering. When the suffering will come to an end? He's understood. So from the question itself, all that we have explained to you about Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti, Mumukshatvam, all these are implied in the question itself. And it is only such great masters like Shankaracharya who from the question itself can tell us, just as the Guru can tell from the question, that to what level our mind has evolved. And that's why pariprashnena. And this question itself reveals the intelligence of the student. What is that student interested in? Not some worldly object, not going to the gym and how to develop muscles, not about whether to eat wheat or eat jawar to slim down, or quinoa. From the question, it implies that the student has complete vairagya from all external objects of the world and is inquiring as to what is that because of which my senses function or there is life in this body. Therefore, starts with the question, Kena. That's why the Upanishad is called as Kena. By whom or by what? And by saying Kena, by whom or by what? The question itself, that is there something or someone other than these equipments by which seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching is possible. Feeling, thinking is possible. The question itself is of such deep inquiry. If somebody just comes and says, who am I? Even the interest is there, but look at what the student has already thought over, which even the thinkers from other cultures were not able to understand the question only. They thought it is some psychological question. It's not even a psychological question. And when we study the commentary or the bhashya of Shankaracharya, to determine what is the meaning of that word, it is only that you do not have any other confusion. But having understood the meaning of those words, and in this Upanishad, he has given two commentaries. One, each word's meaning, the other is giving the meaning of the sentence. He was not satisfied with one commentary. So he has given one commentary explaining each word and the other the whole sentences. So you can understand that what subtle knowledge is there in this Upanishad, that the great Acharya had to give two commentaries on it. Now, the technicalities of these commentaries are because of the people trying to defy this knowledge of the Upanishads. We are explaining it into what confusions rise in your mind. Because those kind of confusions, we don't even know how to think like that. Yeah? Therefore, when we take bhashyas in public, it's sometimes irrelevant for the people, because today our mindset is different. Our thinking is different. Our confusion is different. But the meaning has to be the same. The understanding has to be the same. So having understood what could be the possible or the misinterpreted meanings of it, how? Through etymology, through grammar, through other mantras of the Upanishads, the great Bhashyakar has determined what is the meaning of it. We are not going to go into that right now, because they have determined the meaning, and no such, grammatical, you don't even know Sanskrit, So, if you see the bulk of the bhashyas for each word, that this meaning is redundant, that meaning is redundant, so we're not going to go into that, But understand what is the question and what is the validity of the question of the student. And therefore, what the answer the teacher has given. Because sometimes you don't understand the question, you don't even understand why such an answer was given. That's why the Upanishads have a unique style which is not there in any books of other sciences. Because this is not the knowledge of objects. It's the very knowledge of the subject which never becomes an object. Therefore, it is indescribable. Therefore, it is called as contemplative knowledge. That with a contemplative knowledge, a contemplative mind, when we listen, reflect, and meditate, as indicated by the scriptures, as indicated by the Guru from the scriptures, then we come to gain this knowledge, we come to realize this truth. So the question now is,
Om keneshitam patati preshitam manah. Kena pranah prathamah praiti yuktah. Keneshitam vachamimam vadanti. Chakshushrotram kaudevo yunakti.
all mantras, we invoke the Supreme Om. Kena ishitam preshitam patati manaha. Ishitam and preshitam, these two words are there, where the student is asking, willed or wished, by whom does the mind go towards its objects or towards an object's? Kena pranaha prathamaha praiti yuktaha. By whom praiti proceeds this prathama prana. So what makes this prana? Let us first just simply translate into breath, as I like the life force in your body. So, directed, commanded by, regulated by whom does the prathama prana, the main vital air, proceed to function? Or even the first prana proceed? Kena ishitam vacham imam vadanti. And prompted by, commanded by whom does this speech speak, or our mouth speak? And eyes which illumine all these objects by which we recognize so directly any form, any object, the presence of anything, that ʟᴠ which divine or illumining power directs this eyes, chakshuhu, ears, shrotraha. Who is that? Now, you can see the student's inquiry. We are too busy with our body, our senses, etc. And only when some illness comes in, or our eyes become weak, we go to the doctor, and sometimes we don't even we want just solutions that, give us some glasses and we can see clearly and we get on to with our work. So this question is not about, how can I see better? How can I give public talk better? This is not that kind of question. The inquiry of the student first and foremost is that these equipments, the eyes, the ears, and along that we have to understand nose, tongue, skin, organs of perception. With that, we become aware of this world. The question of the student is, through inquiry, through study, that these equipments are inert. Now, if you study Tattva Bodh or even Chandogya Upanishad and the earlier Vedic mantras, that from the 5 elements, space, air, fire, water and earth, elements, basic substance, all the names, all the forms of the world are created. In our bhajans also, or hymns also, we keep on singing that, Mati ka putla, made up of mud. From mud we came, from dust to dust. So this body is made up of matter. All the time, the dirt that you see in your room, especially in a place like this, is your skin. So don't say, why should I clean it up? You're constantly shedding dirt, dead matter. Skin of your body is nothing but dust. Finally, when you burn or bury this body, what does it become? Dust, ashes. And a mere mass of flesh without these sense organs cannot move. Even 3 of the sense organs you don't have, you are a vegetable. So we think that these senses, if you study even biology, who do you call as a living creature? Who do you call as a living creature? You forgot your 8th standard biology. One who responds to stimuli. You see, a teacher only can remember because she has to teach again and again. And that is why pravachan. That you go on repeating it again and again so that you can remember. Otherwise, how easily we forget. That which respond to stimuli. When a person is dead, you can beat that, wake up, you can beat the chest, to get the heart moving, but there's no response. So this body is inert and something else gives it the ability to respond. So if the senses are not there, we don't see the body as responding. So we think that my presence, my life, I am this person who experiences the world of objects. And since we are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting by our ears, our nose, etc. So as long as we are experiencing the world, I think myself to be a living entity. The student has inquired, or the seeker has inquired, and wants to know that are these senses independent in seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting? Now, even if you take, especially now you are sitting in the session here. Before that mic went on, ping. So it's not mobile phone, it's the speakers. Yeah. But actually, it's an alarm for you to wake up. Yeah. They were also doing, because from behind somebody must be thinking, we can't hear. You can't hear, you're feeling sleepy, and so they try to increase the noise. You wake up. So you are hearing through your senses. But even while your ears and even your eyes are open, and I tell you, you have to teach school children, then you know how early in the morning their eyes are open but they are asleep. But ears we can definitely know, no? And especially you wives will have complained about your husbands and your sons also. Husbands, you complain. Sons, you try to understand. That you may be shouting at the top of your voice, but they don't hear anything. So if ears were independent in hearing, now, and ears are always open. Yeah? Even if you put in those ear plugs, sound outside is heard. And yet, many times sitting here in this class with the speakers increasing every day, and Swamiji's voice also going higher and higher and louder and louder. Yeah. Yet, you can miss hearing. Because even when your mind is not behind your ears, when you go to sleep, there's so much sound outside. Like yesterday, before we went to sleep, there was all this music coming in, is it not? Some of us slept after the music, some of you slept even when the music was going on. But when you went to sleep, your ears were still open. Sound was penetrating through your windows also. But you didn't hear it. So, is this ear independent in hearing? Is this ear the hearer? Is this eyes the seer? Are they independent in seeing? So, has inquired. Simple thing is, even the mind is not there. We are not, even, you don't have to die to experience that, but a dead person also does not hear. A sleeping person also does not hear. A wakeful person also doesn't hear sometimes. So I would think myself to be a bundle of experiences, or the fact that I can experience the world. I am alive. I exist. The question is that, why this question? Because it seems that there is, or there should be, another presence because of which my eyes can see objects, my ears can hear sounds. And that even literally we can say it is the mind. And I consider myself to be this bundle of feelings and thoughts, this bundle of experiences, the experiencer, the feeler, the thinker. That's so amazing. I don't know, I'm sure many of you also must have realized. We may be attached to our bodies and our comforts, but being brought up in our Indian and Hindu culture, I know even as a child, this, and nobody, at that time may have told, but it was very easy to understand that I am not this body. Even now, it's not difficult for you to understand that I am not this, just this body. Even though we may be attached to it, we may want comforts, etc. But you know that. But who do I understand myself to be right now? Is this thinking, feeling individual that I am? But here the seeker has even questioned this equipment of thinking, feeling, which is called as the mind as a whole. The inner equipments is called as mind sometimes as intellect. But all these thoughts of our mind that make us this experiencer and this responder, this actor, is this mind independent? Because if this mind was independent, one of the arguments that Shankaracharya gives, we all know what is harmful to us, but we still do it. No? So there seems that even this mind is prompted by some other force. Now, even if you take a step, can you say for sure after 2 minutes what you will be thinking? No, I'm going to just say, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. I'm going to in 2 minutes. At that moment only, something else comes to your mind, Buffalo will come to your mind. It's unique, this, I tell you. So, who commands the mind? Is the mind independent? Okay, students of Vedanta, yes, it is prompted by past impressions or vasanas. So, which means the mind also is not independent. Oh, the world attracts, a sound or a word attracts the mind. No. I may say have said one word, but if your mind has understood something else, it is thinking of something else. But the question of the student through all these analysis recognizes that the mind is also not independent. So what is that because of which the mind can travel even far off distant places to recognize objects or to remember objects in time as well as in space. And then on inquiry, vasanas are created by mind. Mind creates the vasanas and vasanas then direct the mind. So is the question only up till there? And many of the psychologists who studied it said, student asked such a, in today's world, I tell you, the whole discussion is, your past baggage, your past guilt, and why are you behaving like this? What are the patterns of your life? And why is such a person behaving in this manner? Why these relationships work only in this manner? We are also just looking at the psychological impressions because of which certain behaviors are there of certain minds. But the student has even understood that they are interdependent upon each other. Now this is very subtle to understand. It's okay if you don't know. They're interdependent. Some are dependent completely. Some are interdependent. So they cannot be the sole prompter, the sole wisher, the sole actor, the sole experiencer. Then we learn also whether from our ancient sciences, which were so clear and so deep, and even today in modern science, our mind, which is made up of thoughts, why the same word uttered by me has a different connotation to someone and to another person. Today, our language has changed. So our understanding depends on language, which is changing. Like for example, in old English literature, heart, the center of feeling was called as bosom. Today our youngsters don't use the word bosom. For them, bosom means breast. So when they see the old writing that, experience that devotion in your bosom, so the word is also not directing. Where's the word? Not taking to the feeling heart, but taking to something else. Is it not? So is the mind directed by words, external words or objects? Even certain object, one person sees, a different thought takes place. So what guides, what prompts, or what does it make possible for the mind to go towards its objects? So directed by whose wish, command? And wish and command in inert things, they don't move on their own. There has to be a conscious entity. Therefore, ᴠᴜ-ᴜ, which shining principle, which illuminating principle, which vitalizing principle directs these inert senses, body and mind to function as a living entity. They say that is prana, energy. So, whether it is our ancient sciences or even today modern sciences, mind is made up of thoughts. We understand thoughts as something that creates. But is thought independent? Thoughts are also, according to even modern science, I was just talking about alpha waves and these waves. These are nothing but energy waves. Today we measure them neurologically also. And energy and matter are a quantum. Both are inert. Don't say, I just believe, there is some higher force. Star Wars they must have seen during childhood. God is a force, an energy. Because we can only understand to that level. But here the student knows that matter and energy, gross body and subtle thoughts are all inert. So the question is, first of all, that these equipments on their own are independent. They have their own vitality or they have their own ability to hear or to be conscious. Second is there or is there not a separate entity, being, presence? And if that is there, is it a combination of all these equipments that produces this experiencer, this doer, which I call as me? So, is it a product of the combination of all of them? And mind you, every 12 years in Times magazine, Newsweek magazine, this whole issue of consciousness. And they're still struggling to point out, and even old thinkers have thought about it, that this life or consciousness, is it a combination of the elements? Independent elements may be inert, but combination creates life. And that's our modern theory of evolution also. No? That there was a big bang and then everything, all the gases went into space and then one, got together and became the sun, and then, the sun fell in love with a comet and dub, 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 9 parts of his heart came out, and then they became planets, out of which one which is equidistant in such a way or the proper distance, then developed atmosphere, then in that hydrogen and oxygen combined to create water, and then it became conducive, and there, all the random, chemicals of the universe, they combine together to form unicellular animal, which could move, could function, could eat, and became life. And of course, that evolved to a monkey. And then that monkey, which lost the tail and the mustache, became man. But how did consciousness come in inert chemicals, inert elements? If our mindset and a way of thinking, we do not change, this linear inquiry, which they've been doing from the last 500 years, is not leading them to still find out what our great rishis not only found out, but could reveal and make you discover for yourself, or even logically make you understand that consciousness cannot be the product of any inert object, nor the combination of inert objects. But maybe it is possible, and that's why we are trying to look out for artificial intelligence. And then we are saying that maybe one day the artificial intelligence will take over the world. And do you think that there will be life in artificial intelligence? All these questions, because our thinking is still linear. That's why any new discovery, even in material sciences, takes place when you start thinking differently. Thinking in this manner, the student has come to understand that there has to be some conscious principle. Is it independent of, is our senses by themselves conscious? Is this conscious principle the product of a combination of these elements? Just like you take a green leaf, on that you put white tuna, and you put some betel nut, so come some calcium, some betel nut, and what else? Why I don't eat pan? Yeah? And various things. All of them, the colors are different, but when you chew them with your saliva, that which you see as graffiti on Indian walls, so artistically thrown out, so it produces a different color, but that color also is of inert objects. You mix red and white, you will get pink. Is it not? So does inert objects combine itself to give you a conscious entity? No, it is prana, when we breathe in. And as long as you breathe, there is life in this body. But by using the word prathama prana, an inquiry is, and many of you, when you were born, you don't know, but you've had babies, no? And very often if the baby is not breathing, what do? Give it a whack, or give it a rub. Yeah. Who or what breathes in the first breath? Have you inquired? Or you, like a balloon, you pumped in air, and that's how you brought prana, life into this body. Who sucked that first breath and started crying? There must be some conscious entity. Therefore, is it independent or is it dependent? Therefore, most people think life is there as long as this body is there. If this body is not there, life is not there. Then what was there which took the first breath? When the body itself was not alive. These are all inquiries that the student has gone through, but cannot, lay the finger on what it is. I can just kind of think that there must be something else. Because none of these combinations and all, that whether, material sciences even of that time have investigated. So, is there or is there not something other than the senses and mind? Is it a combination of all these? Is it independent? And is it something other than me or one with me? And if it is one with me, then how come I don't see it? Or others don't see it? This is the inquiry of the student. Now you understand? And then you can see the answer of the teacher. And I've kept it purposely for the morning session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.